We are less than a week away from the NFL draft. Stop me if you've heard this before, but the Falcons are going. Many people expect them to take Dallas Turner, but not in this mock draft. Not in this mock draft. It comes from CBS pundit, who is an insider, Jonathan Jones. He has quite the spicy take, and it's not the first time. This narrative is gaining a little bit of steam in recent weeks, but that's to be expected with the draft so close. Jonathan Jones of CBS has the Falcons taking Michael Penix, runner-up to Jaden Daniels in the Heisman race, brought Washington all the way to the national championship, had a stellar season, Cinderella run, fell just short. Great arm, has certain struggles, but a lot of people love him. Has the Falcons taking him with the 8th overall pick. But what I think is especially interesting is his commentary on it, Chase. He says, no matter what happens within the next week, Michael Penix is going to go in the first 12 picks.
Yeah, I mean, I think that very well could be true. I mean, I'm glad I'm not the general manager doing that, because I think whatever general manager does it is going to get fired. But regardless, it's not going to be the Falcons. I think this is one of the stupidest things that I've heard from anyone. I don't care. Listen, no disrespect to Jonathan Jones, no disrespect to Brian Baldinger. I think they're smart people. I think this is just stupid. I mean, you do not pay $180 million to a quarterback that you signed for 4 years. You're guaranteed at least to have them for 2 years. You're really locked in for more like 3. Yeah. You just don't do this. You don't do it. You don't do it to Kirk Cousins. You don't do it to your team. You don't do it to your fan base. It doesn't make any sense. So I get that, I get we've held them with private workouts and stuff like that. We've sent these big contingencies to go see him work out in Seattle, and there's been some connections there, but I think it's just lazy. And lazy might not be the right word, but it just doesn't make any sense. Like, what are we doing here? Like, if we go out there and draft a quarterback, I don't care who it is, even Drake May, it doesn't even make sense. Like, if you thought Drake May had a chance of being there, you shouldn't have signed Kirk Cousins for 4 years, $180 million.
I'll say if Drake May somehow falls, which he won't, guys, he will not.
Someone will trade up, even if he falls past 3.
Yes, that's absolutely true. If he falls to 8, the Falcons don't take him, I'm going to be unhinged on Twitter, on this show.
But then you shouldn't hate. Then you shouldn't hate the Michael.
No, I absolutely can, because of this fact, and it has different. It's not the prospect; it's the organization. And you say, they won't do this. They won't. Who knows what this organization will do? We love Terry Fontenot. We do love Raheem Morris. We don't know how much his voice is going to be heard in the draft rooms. We assume it'll be a pretty decent amount. This organization does dumb things. They've done dumb things in the past. They'll do dumb things in the future. They're just not this pristine organization that deserves the benefit of the doubt. People say, well, we need a succession plan. You just saw what the Falcons could be in quarterback purgatory. And you're right. You're really right. It was brutal to watch Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ridder for the past 2 seasons. In fact, it was some of the worst time I've ever had watching Falcons football. But let me just tell you, this isn't the Green Bay Packers, guys. This isn't some storied franchise that deserves the benefit of the doubt, that decision after decision, we have to question them, because decision after decision, they end up doing the wrong thing. I mean, we entrusted Desmond Ridder, for goodness sakes, last year with a team that had postseason aspirations. Now we have Kirk Cousins in the building. You kind of signaled, obviously you signaled to the rest of the league that you think that you're a contender. You gave almost Kirk Cousins behind closed doors, handshake deal, whatever. Like, hey, we're going for it, Kirk. You come here. We're going to try and get you back to a Super Bowl. But we're going to take this quarterback. This isn't the Packers and Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love, guys. This is not the same thing whatsoever. So I don't see the Michael Penix, even in the second round, guys. Even in the second round. That's still a valuable pick.
No, I don't see a quarterback in the first 2, probably even.
You could argue the first 300, the first 100 picks.
It doesn't make any sense. And I know we shouldn't be so concerned with what Kirk Cousins thinks and stuff like that, but this is part of it.
I disagree.
But this is part of it. Well, I think the Falcons, especially as bad as they've been, they should be doing whatever they think is best for the organization first. That should be first and foremost.
I guess.
And whether they think if they think a quarterback in the second round, maybe Penix is there in the second. I mean, I know these hype things happen all the time. Like we're talking about him in the first round because this mock draft is saying it, but he could easily be there in the second round. Now,
yeah, Michael Penix's agent probably went to Jonathan Jones and said, "Hey, the Raiders, Broncos, and Vikings told us that if he's there, he's getting drafted."
See, that's funny that you bring that up because I'm actually going to do something on the site on this later. Bill Belichick said on Pat McAfee on Wednesday that all this smoke that you're hearing about the draft is always BS until about 12 hours before the draft. Then the guys that start tweeting stuff out about, oh, this team's feeling this team's feeling this. That's when you start getting legitimate news. Until the draft, pretty much the day before the draft, all you're getting is agent talk. All you are getting is agents going to reporters being like, yeah, they're really interested in my player and stuff like that. So I thought that a guy that's been around the league for 35, 40 years, whatever.
He's the brightest mind this game's ever seen.
He straight up said pretty much everything you're hearing right now is absolute BS.
That's funny.
The fact that people are now talking about Michael Penix as a top 10 pick and number 8 overall to a team that just signed a $180 million man. I don't know who he has in his ear, but that is absolutely crazy to me. I don't even know.
It does feel like, the words, I promise whatever happens he's going to be taken in the first 12 picks. You know, the Raiders, Broncos, and Vikings are all right there. That reeks of an agent being like, these 3 teams told me that if my guy is there, they're taking him. Doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt that this is an agent talking to him. I mean, what team would have let it out that like, oh, we're this high on Michael Penix? No one would have let that out.
No.
An agent's the only person that would let that out. So I definitely think that's where it's coming from. Now he does have a good group of teams right there in the top 12 picks that could easily make that pick. So it's kind of like you got a safety net. If it's not the Broncos, it could be the Raiders. If it's not the Raiders, it could be the Vikings. So it's easy to say something like that and just be like, yeah, I bet one of those. You're almost betting like one of those teams is going to be
even further down. You know, the bet, like you said, the top 12. But I mean, the Seahawks, they are in play, and then there's other quarterbacks even past them. Cowboys need somebody to potentially replace Dak Prescott.
What about the Steelers?
The Steelers as well. I think my biggest gripe with Michael Penix as a prospect, and I said this in the article, is that he benefited, one, from an incredible receiving core headlined by Rome Odunze, who is, you know, one of the better receiving prospects of the past decade, an incredibly easy schedule from a defensive perspective. He was not facing the best defenses in the country. And when he did face one of the best defenses in the country in Michigan, you saw how that turned out. So I think, you know, that when all of these things are considered, if you go against a Pac-12 schedule, you have these incredible receivers that kind of make you look better than maybe you are. I mean, we saw Rome Odunze make some of the most incredible catches I've ever seen any receiver make, up there with Marvin Harrison Jr. So for those reasons, I mean, I'm just not as high as some of these other guys on him. And I think, you know, you have to be able to distinguish numbers from play. You know, completion percentage doesn't tell the whole story of accuracy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I don't see it with Michael Penix either. But listen, I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I like Michael
We've been
Penix.
wrong before.
I was a big Huskies fan all season. I had a future.
It was a great run.
I enjoyed watching Michael Penix. I think he's a fantastic college quarterback, but there's levels to this, right?
Yes.
And there's, you know, if 5 quarterbacks go in the first round, most likely 1 or 2 is going to pan out.
Yeah.
So that's what teams are going to have to realize. Even though you think this is a loaded draft, Drake May could suck, Jaden Daniels could suck, you know, Caleb Williams could suck. You know, there's no guarantees when it comes to the quarterback position in the draft.